I'm Wendy Wilson, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Realizing Potential. We are back in the studio. I'm super excited about that, but it does not compare to the guest that I have today. I've known her for about 15, maybe 18 years, and she is such a beautiful spirit, very enterprising, and so multifaceted. I'll let you learn more about her. She is none other than Dr. Janee Mobley. How are you today?
How are you?
Good, good.
As always.
You as well. Tell me what you've been doing. But in addition to what you've been doing, let's start, as we do traditionally with all of our guests, is tell us a little bit about your educational background, what that includes, what brought you to Albany, and what you do.
Oh, do we have time for that? I'm just kidding.
We're going to make time for you.
Well, my educational background, I graduated from Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University with my doctorate of pharmacy degree. So that's where the doctor comes from.
Okay.
And I'm originally from Miami, Florida, but how we migrated to Albany was we became homeless. And it was during that time. You know, sometimes your darkest moments can end up becoming the light of your life. And it was during that time that I really discovered and uncovered what my purpose in this earth was. And it was during that time that I really empowered myself and really built myself and personally developed harder than I ever had before. And it was during that season that I was able to go and give my time to other women and pour into them. And that's when the Dr. Janee brand began to evolve.
Yeah. So we'd be remiss, and you are, let me just phrase it this way, you are part of the beloved HBCU community.
Yes.
Not Albany State, but FAMU, just down the road. So you were pharmacy? Yep. Okay. Tell us what interests you about that. And then, of course, you shared with us already about what brought you to Albany. But why and you're from Miami. So the whole Florida, I get that piece. But why pharmacy? What was the spark of interest?
Healthcare was one of those that I was interested in.
Okay.
And I literally compared it to what majority of people know, either it's nursing or medicine. And I knew I've always had a passion with connecting with people and really wanting to help them. It really started out with that help spirit. And I knew that I wasn't the type of person that wanted to clean behind people and deal with all of the sanitation and the bodily fluid. So nursing was like, not doing it. And then I had a mentor. I actually got a mentor, and she was in pharmacy school at the time, exposed me to the profession. And I had the opportunity while I was in high school to do an internship at a hospital. And that's where it really evolved. And I went on to pharmacy school gratefully, you know how a lot of people go through the process of trying to figure out what they wanted to do. But gratefully, I went in, declared pharmacy as a major, and matriculated on through.
I love it. You just make me think, of course, our life happens in evolutions. And so we're in different spaces at different times and hopefully growing and developing as a result of that. And so as you shared, somebody referred to me and I was like, that's not me. By definition, I hope that I inspire in many ways, but somebody defined me the other day, said, you're an empowerment coach, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. But that's what you do, and you do it so well.
Thank you.
What was that moment where you said, I need to give to others, and then your targeted audience? And I love seeing you on social media. You have a way of connecting, and people can easily gravitate to you. So I do believe that it is a part of your many gifts and talents. But what was that moment where you said, this is where I want to embark upon Dr. Janee, and this is what I want to do as it relates to this demographic of people?
Well, I shared a little bit earlier that sometimes the darkest place in your life can end up being the lightest part of your whole world. And while my husband and I were homeless, I realized that sometimes one of the great things about being low is that you can't get any lower. Only place that you can go is up. And I literally, while we were homeless, I literally said to myself one day, I said, because I had began to study some people who I thought were very successful, and Donald Trump came to my mind, and I studied him a little bit, and I found that he had filed bankruptcy multiple times. And I'm sitting here thinking about just how serious and how unlight bankruptcy was, but he was able to pick the pieces back up and build something even greater. And I said, okay. Now, I know God is not a respecter of people. So clearly, if he figured this out, I'm going to figure this out.
Okay.
And that's when I realized that I had to work on me. I realized it was a mindset. You know, some people can lose it all and fall apart. And then you have some people who are there. It becomes more of a mission for them to figure it out. And for me, it became a mission. And after I figured it out, that a lot of people are missing the mindset, because you have people who are millionaires and billionaires, but still are missing a mindset. They're still missing something. And it was at that point I said, I have too much of wealth of knowledge. When I figured out how we could really come out of being homeless and evolving and becoming greater, I said, surely I can then pass this on to somebody else. And that's where the Dr. Janee brand began to grow, and I began to pour into people, and it became a passion as a business. And even as I began to move in life coaching, I came across individuals who were successful in business, especially women, very successful in business, because I realized you have two different types of women in entrepreneurship. You have the woman who desires the business but doesn't fully pursue it because it's something in her mind, the stories that she's telling herself in her head, that's preventing her from progressing and advancing. And then you have the successful, outwardly beautiful mover and shaker of an entrepreneurial woman whose business is spectacular, is growing, is evolving. But when she goes home, she takes off her makeup, maybe take off her hair, her lashes, she's falling apart as a person, as a woman. And that's when I began to add the piece of helping women entrepreneurs to build the foundation, which is themselves, so that as they build a business, whether tall or wide, the foundation that is with them is rooted and firmly built, so that as the building grows, as the business grows, they are not shaken and falling apart.
Wow, that's power again, empowerment. That is so powerful. So many messages in that. One of the ones that I particularly that resonated with me is that core, that foundation absolutely needs to be established, if not firm. You might have some fragile moments and work on that. But if you don't have a good setting or foundation, then as we continue to put layers, and you talked about the unlayering and taking off the makeup, the hair, the eyelashes when we arrive home, sometimes we become so consumed with that, and then life is, we have another venture, we have something else to do, so we add another mask. And then it's all of that is adding on to that already weak foundation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's a lot. And I'm glad you used the word women, because we just have to keep moving. And so we don't take time. And so to establish a firm foundation and then go back to it periodically on schedule. I don't even know if I want to use periodically, but scheduled maintenance to make sure that it's firm. So what you're saying is, let's start off that way before you add anything else, or you start anew with that.
Yeah, because one of the things that, and it's, when you talked about scheduling, I thought about myself. I remember after I had our daughter, that time we had a son, and transitioning from one child to child number 2 while you're having career and you're building business. I remember a day where I felt anxious. And one thing that I've learned about myself is to be very, very self-aware and conscious.
Perfect.
Because I grew up watching and observing people in my life just move, and not deal with the traumas and dramas. And the effect was alcoholism. The effect was depression. The effect was obesity and all of these different things. And I'm truly one of those that have adopted the mentality that I want to learn more by observation than having to go through this stuff myself. So I went and sought a therapist, one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And now I realized that I had to make time to be what I like to call my first name. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a career woman, I'm an entrepreneur, but before I can be great for all of these different areas and all of these different hats that I wear, I have to take care of me.
Yeah.
So every day, like I literally have a reminder in my phone that goes off at 12:30 where I just literally sit in my vehicle, quiet, no radio,
Beautiful.
and I just,
Right.
yeah, just to have that moment to regroup and rebuild so that I can be my best self.
So, and you're right. I don't know if we have time for all of this because I'm like, oh my gosh. The older I get, I'm saddened for people who are not intentional with that time. And so you have so many people, particularly women, who say, but I don't have time. But what you just said is you absolutely have to make time. And so you've chosen that moment at 12:30. It is scheduled in that space. I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're far more knowledgeable and have a greater level of expertise than I have, is that when you have that quiet time and it is just you and your thoughts and your realities, I oftentimes believe, or I'm of the thought that people don't want to do that.
True.
Yeah. It's a very sobering moment. And with that, you then are almost at a crossroads. If I'm staying in this thought, this pattern of thought, and it is not benefiting me, or something in my life is not benefiting or working, I'm at that crossroads. I either do something about it, or I stay on that path of not doing anything.
You're absolutely right. And just to prove it, I had a young lady tell me a couple of years ago, I think I was doing like an exercise where they had to look in the mirror and just really deal with themselves. And she literally told me, she said, I don't want to deal with myself. And one of the things that I have observed, it is uncomfortable to confront yourself. It doesn't feel good to reflect and even acknowledge the challenges, the issues, the traumas, the dramas in your life, and even the things that you've done wrong. But one thing that I have truly understood about confronting the issues in my life is that when I make the decision to acknowledge it and confront it and decide to heal, is when I don't have to feel the discomfort in just being myself.
Yeah, let's stay right there for a minute. The decision to heal. Yeah. Because it becomes, we've normalized so many behaviors. And again, as I said, to do something different is going to require some work and letting go of that normalcy, even though it's not benefiting us.
Yeah. Yeah, and it takes work, just like you said. But one thing I've learned, and this is one thing I'll encourage people, if you're in that space, focus on what the effect will be, the positive effect of getting the transformation, getting the deliverance, uncovering the ucky stuff. It's just like, when people are farming and they're planting, the plant grows and so do the weeds. But at some point, you can pull the weeds out to allow the plant to grow even bigger.
Yes.
The same thing happens in our lives. When we pull out the weeds, when we pull out, the things that happen in childhood that we're uncomfortable with, when we pull out the mistakes, when we pull out the bad decisions, it allows us to grow and evolve even greater.
Yes.
But if we don't, the weeds will consume you.
Yes. Yeah, that's, oh, wow. Wow. Now we got to do a part 2 and a part 3.
I'm here for it.
You're here for it? Yeah, absolutely. I was just reminded of a conversation that I had actually just earlier today, about a couple hours ago. And the individual was saying to me, imagine what we would be like or how advanced or developed we would be if we had incorporated, or if our parents had the understanding or access to resources, or were just willing to engage in mental health and wellness at a young age.
That part.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm putting myself in that own category. And I think I had a really good childhood. It was not without its challenges at all. My parents were as perfect as I believe that they were. They were, imperfect, as we all are. I told my two, they left the parenting, how to raise you manual. They're adults now in the room. I had C-sections.
Oh,
But I
okay.
share all that to say that I've always teased them, said there had to have been a manual that we left behind in there to how to raise you. But they're really great adults. But that was such a powerful thought for him to have. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. If we had had that. But what the Dr. Janees of the world teach us is that it's never too late.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's never too late.
We're here. I believe if we wake up every morning, there's an opportunity to do something different. Regardless of how old you are or how young you are, there's an opportunity to do something better today than you did yesterday. And I think the challenge, and I believe it's becoming a lot better than it was some years ago, is that mental health had a stigma. You know, mental health was labeled with the stigma of being crazy. But just like we take care of our physical bodies, we have to take care of our emotional and our mental bodies.
That's right. That's right.
And when we rebrand it and we reshift it from that perspective, I think it will open people up to a different perspective, because a lot of the times that I have found is that physical health is a mere manifestation of your mental and your emotional health.
Absolutely.
I remember when I found out I was pregnant with our youngest son, Alex, and this was during the pandemic, and I was what I like to call a at-home paraprofessional with our son, and our daughter was like a year old. So paint this whole picture, right? And here I found out I was pregnant with Alex, and just to kind of drive home how your mental health can affect your physical health. And I was devastated. Although Alex is truly a blessing, I was devastated because it was unexpected. And in the middle of a pandemic and everything that's going on, and how stressful, and trying to manage these two kids and so forth, and working from home. And I literally, because I know about disease states, when I went to the doctor for my first OB appointment, I said, look, I'm already going to tell you, my blood pressure is going to be here. And when she took it, it was high at the time. And it was just a reflection of the stress that I was feeling on the inside that I did acknowledge, but I hadn't accepted so that I can begin to heal. And after I left that appointment, I re-upped and called my therapist and really started to work on me again, because one of the things that I've learned to do, I realized that I love exercise for my mental health.
Okay.
I don't enjoy it in terms of putting on my shoes and going out there, but it just does something for me mentally and emotionally. And even when I found out I was pregnant with him, I was intentional about creating time for myself to go out and walk, to go out and just work on myself. So just to drive home the point that if we just really shift the way that we look at mental health and realize that the reason why you probably have hypertension, why you have high cholesterol, why you are obese, when people realize that it may be something that you have not dealt with that you need to confront, so that you don't have to take these medications for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And it's been my experience. So I see Dr. Tracy Knight, and I go for periodic checkups, and probably don't go as much as I need to. So she'll see me probably once a year, and she's like, oh, we here for your checkup. And I am. But what I've experienced every time I have a conversation with her is it is such a liberating experience. And so as soon as I'm leaving there and I'm at the stop sign or the street light, because she switched locations, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I could have felt this way
a long time ago.
Yes. So I love that we are expanding our awareness, working really hard to remove that stigma. It's still some work to be done, particularly in certain communities of colors and the African American community. I remember years ago as a child, and you would hear people say, though, they were depressed or experiencing suicide ideation, and we don't have that in our community. Just go take a nap, just sleep it off. And so all of those unfortunate statements and beliefs that impacted generations. So helping to thank you for your targeted role in helping to dismantle that. Tell us before we wrap up, because absolutely part 2 and 3 we must have, more about the business. How can individuals, what is it that you offer your clients, and how can individuals reach you?
Okay, so I work, right now I'm working one-on-one with a very elite, one-on-one with a very elite group of clients. So that's one way to work with me. And the reason why I like to work one-on-one with a smaller group is because it gives me the opportunity to connect with my clients. When you have too many at one time, I can't really give fully. I also have a group program, and it's called the Know Your Worth Academy, for God-fearing women entrepreneurs and those who are working a 9-to-5 that desire to take their idea and make money from it, all while they're building themselves the foundation so that as they grow and evolve their businesses are able to stand. Of course, I am on YouTube. I love YouTube and Instagram.
Okay.
Yes. I'm at Dr. Janee Mobley on both of those areas. But yeah, I do speaking, I do coaching, and
do it all.
I do it, and I love it
Amazing.
all.
I love it all. Just, gorgeous self and glowing all the time. And then you're published?
Yes, I wrote a book, 40 Days to a Better You, and all in the same brand. I feel like, sometimes people feel like they have to take this huge leap to be successful. But what people don't realize is that it's those little decisions that you make along the way that make you a success.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was speaking with another entrepreneur the other day, and they were frustrated, and I need to get it right. And I'm like, nope, you just fly and build the airplane all at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you'll just become paralyzed with wanting it to look a certain way, and time is moving forward.
Absolutely.
How can individuals find out about you to become a member of this elite group, if you're still accepting new membership, if you will?
Well, you can go to the drjanee.com website. Also, of course, while I'm on Instagram, you can inbox me there. But either one of those locations work well.
Okay, very good. Any parting tips before we're going into the holidays? And since we're on the piece about the subject of mental health, I'm going to give some guidance and advice to our viewers.
Sure. The first thing that came to me was do away with perfection. Progress over perfection any day. Don't think about how to make it perfect in one bite. Think about how you can improve each day. And that goes for business, that goes for life, that goes for being a parent, that goes for being a spouse. What can you do every day to make yourself better? And do it.
I couldn't have said it better, and I dare not even try. Dr. Janee Mobley, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you. It's been too long on so many different levels, so we're going to have to work on that. But have a wonderful holiday break, and continue to raise those amazing children with your spouse.
Will do.
Much success with your business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Viewers, thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Realizing Potential. I'm Wendy Wilson, and I look forward to seeing you next time.